Sometimes in life you have to put aside petty differences in order to achieve your goals. In movies, this motif happens all the time. Former enemies are often forced to come together either because they are both desperate or because they want to take down a larger antagonist. You know the saying, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And so with that in mind then, I'm Ellie with What Culture here with the 10 best enemy team-up moments in movies. Number 10. Frank joins the team in Catch Me If You Can. Catch Me If You Can is Steven Spielberg's excellent telling of the real-life exploits of con-man Frank Abagnale. Disguising himself as a pilot among other things, Frank performs millions of dollars worth of fraud across the United States, which draws the attention of FBI agent Carl Hanratty. Leonardo DiCaprio and Tom Hanks are brilliant as Abagnale and Hanratty respectively, forging a thrilling rivalry with one another before the law finally catches up with Frank and he is arrested. However, who better to catch a con man than a con man? Carl proposes a deal to Frank. He can serve out the remainder of his prison sentence in relative comfort if he agrees to join the FBI in hunting other fraudsters. Frank accepts and the one-time foes are now partners. Hanratty might be the total opposite of his nemesis, but he is smart enough to recognize talent when he sees it. Also, having made him a part of his life for years on end, there's likely a small part of Carl's brain that doesn't want to let go of Abagnale just yet. This is a fantastic conclusion to the movie, and one that is much more satisfying than just seeing Frank get caught. Number 9. WIKUS becomes a prawn in District 9. A thinly veiled yet highly effective retelling of the apartheid era of South Africa, District 9 imagines a world where aliens have landed on Earth and are treated like second-class citizens by the human race. WIKUS works for the South African government in a department dealing with the prawns. Although mild-mannered, WIKUS is complicit in the discrimination that goes on against them. This is where the film's iconic twist comes into play. While serving a relocation notice to one of the prawns, WIKUS is sprayed in the face by a mysterious substance which, over time, slowly mutates him into one of the aliens. Now faced with the same prejudice that he himself had been a part of, WIKUS now sees the world through the eyes of a prawn, quite literally, and must work with them in order to try and reverse the changes. It's a simple story, but one that the film tells incredibly well. Number 8. Bud and X take out the henchmen in LA Confidential. Directed by the late great Curtis Hanson, LA Confidential is about a group of Hollywood cops as they deal with various crimes in 1950s Tinseltown. The movie was a huge hit and even scored an Oscar nomination for Best Picture. That is thanks in no small part of the excellent performances of two then unknown actors, Russell Crowe and Guy Pearce. Crowe plays Wendell Bud White, whilst Pearce portrays Edmund Shotgun Ed Exley, two policemen who cannot stand each other. The two even get into a physical fight at one point in the movie after Exley shows White pictures of him sleeping with Bud's girlfriend. Their best team-up moment comes when a corrupt cop has them surrounded by a group of his henchmen. Putting their differences to one side, Bud and Ed take down the armed men and manage to take down their former teammate. Crowe and Pearce have excellent chemistry in this movie, and that's what makes White and Exley so compelling to watch. They're both complicated men who take their frustrations out on the world, but they are equally as devoted to the cause of justice, and that is why they could never let petty differences stand in their way. Number 7. Thor and Loki save Asgard in Thor Ragnarok. Viking hunk Thor and his troublesome brother Loki actually first teamed up in Thor: The Dark World to take on Malekith and the Dark Elves. However, nobody wants to revisit that awful movie, so let's talk about a better Thor picture instead. The sons of Odin are faced with an awkward family reunion in 2017's Thor Ragnarok. Hela, their older and more powerful sister, is freed from her prison and vows revenge on Asgard and all of its people. This sets off a chain of events, some of which include Jeff Goldblum, that lead to a final battle pitting Thor and his new friends against Hela's forces. Loki, as usual, had tried to betray Thor earlier in the movie, so he was not present for this battle. However, just when things were looking bleak, the God of Mischief makes the save with a little help from an army of intergalactic gladiators. The Asgardian brothers' relationship is a tricky one, not helped by the countless betrayals and deaths Loki has been through. However, seeing them unite one last time to save their homeland is a proper feel-good moment for long-time fans of their story. Number 6. Hobbs and ELENA join the heist in Fast 5. The Fast and Furious got a real helping hand in its 5th installment, the large muscular hand of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Johnson starred in Fast 5 as Luke Hobbs, a government agent hell-bent on bringing Dom Toretto and his crew to justice. The muscle-bound agent does manage to track Dom to Rio de Janeiro and arrest him and his crew with the help of local police officer ELENA Nieves. However, the tables turn moments later when the agent's convoy is attacked by the movie's real villain Hernan Reyes. Dom and pals use their powers of driving and family to overcome the baddies and save Hobbs and ELENA, but not before the entire rest of their team is killed. With vengeance on their minds, the law enforcers join up with the gang they had previously been hunting to take out Reyes. Not only is the movie enhanced by the thread of Dom and Hobbs gaining each other's respect, but the entire series is enhanced too, as Johnson would join the franchise from this moment on. He would prove to be a valuable addition to the cast until he publicly fell out with Vin Diesel. Awkward. Number 5. Magneto joins the X-Men in X2. Ideological differences don't come much more different than those of Professor X's X-Men and the Magneto-led Brotherhood of Mutants. One wants humanity and mutants to live peacefully alongside one another, whilst the other believes that mutants have suffered long enough and that the Earth is rightfully theirs. It would take a pretty big threat to force these two factions to come together, but that's exactly what happened when William Stryker came onto the scene in 2003's X2. Stryker is a military scientist who actually gave Wolverine his adamantium claws. He uses a special serum to control mutants and builds a second version of Cerebro, which he plans to use to destroy every mutant on Earth. United by a common enemy, Magneto reluctantly agrees to join the mutants who imprisoned him at the end of the first X-Men film. Not only does he save the X-Men from a plane crash, but he is also instrumental in stopping the evil Cerebro from destroying all mutants. Number 4. Woody and Buzz chase down the truck in Toy Story. The entirety of Pixar's 1995 classic could have made it onto this list, as Toy Story is all about two enemies eventually becoming best buddies. That being said, does Buzz see Woody as an enemy, or is it just the paranoid cowboy who thinks the spaceman is out to get him? Woody needs some serious therapy. Anyway, the moment we've gone for is the movie's dramatic climax, in which Woody and Buzz desperately chase down a moving van carrying the rest of Andy's toys to their new home. The pair work perfectly together here. Woody uses RC to go rescue Buzz from Scud, but it is Buzz's wings that eventually carry the pair to safety and the back seat of Andy's car. But the moment that truly symbolizes the journey from foes to friends is when Woody uses Buzz's helmet as a magnifying glass to ignite the fuse on the rocket. This subtle yet beautiful moment proves that, as good as the two might be alone, they're better when working together. Number 3. Butch and Marcellus escape the dungeon in Pulp Fiction. A firm favourite of obnoxious film students everywhere, Quentin Tarantino's Pulp Fiction weaves together a series of loosely connected stories across a single day. One of those stories is boxer Butch Coolidge and gangster Marcellus Wallace being kidnapped by the demented owner of a pawn shop. Butch and Marcellus are not the best of friends before they are held hostage. Butch was supposed to throw a fight in order to fulfill a bet, but double-crossed Marcellus and took the money for himself. However, when Butch manages to escape his captors, he goes back for the man who was previously hunting him down. After being freed by Butch, Marcellus works with the boxer to take down the rest of the kidnappers. Liberated but scarred, Marcellus calls it quits with Butch in exchange for his silence on the terrible events that went down in the pawn shop. Pulp Fiction is all about unlikely character interactions and shifting morality. Marcellus and Butch are great examples of both, as neither of them are good people, but audiences still manage to get invested in them coming together and saving themselves from a horrible fate. Number 2. Apollo trains Rocky in Rocky 3. It's the film that not only gave us Eye of the Tiger and Hulk Hogan as Thunderlips, but also one of the most well-plotted enemy team-ups in all of film. In his third outing, Rocky Balboa is hit with a metaphorical 1-2 punch when he loses to Clubber Lang and watches his manager Mickey die all within the same night. Naturally, this takes quite the toll on Philly's favourite son, who is in desperate need of some motivation. Enter his old rival, Apollo Creed. Having gone to battle in the previous two movies, Creed agrees to help Rocky train for his rematch with Lang in exchange for a favour. Rocky accepts, and the two go on a montage to end all montages in preparation for the fight. Watching these two once bitter enemies come together is really emotional and a fantastic piece of long-term storytelling. It's a fascinating direction in which to take both characters and gives the film its fantastic ending, Rocky accepting Apollo's request for a rematch, this time as friends. Number 1. Darth Vader saves his son in Return of the Jedi. The redemption arc to end all redemption arcs, Darth Vader saving Luke Skywalker from Palpatine, is one of cinema's most satisfying twists, and for good reason. After the iconic revelation at the end of The Empire Strikes Back, Luke is determined to save his father from the clutches of evil and bring him back from the dark side. He goes to him, but ends up engaging in a fierce lightsaber duel that results in him severing his old man's hand. Refusing to kill Vader and join the Emperor, Luke gets a taste of Palpatine's Force lightning as his dad watches on in horror. Deciding that the only one who can maim his boy is him, Vader finally snaps and kills his boss by chucking him down a huge shaft. Vader's final heroic act solidifies his release from darkness and makes sure that his son's lasting memory of him is a good one. After everything the pair has gone through over the course of the original trilogy, this is the perfect ending to their story. Yes, it's simple. Yes, it's become cliched. Yes, it's probably been ruined by all the sequels, but in isolation, this is the greatest example of film enemies uniting. And that concludes our list. If you think we missed any, then do let us know in the comments below, and while you're there, don't forget to like and subscribe and tap that notification bell. Also head over to Twitter and follow us there, and I can be found across various social medias just by searching Ellie Littlechild. I've been Ellie with What Culture. I hope you have a magical day, and I'll see you real soon.